Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am CS the Viking Gamer. Last time we painted Abaddon the Despoiler for a friend of mine, and he liked it so much that he gave me quite a few other models to paint. So today, Chaos Lord and Terminator armor. So the paints that we're going to be using today is Abaddon Black, Lead Belcher, Huston Copper, Auric Armor Gold, Iron Warriors, mostly for detail work, and then for contrasts we're going to be using Skeleton Horde, Snakebite Leather, Flesh Terrors Red, Gore-Grunta Fur, Basilicum Gray, and Agrax Dunes. So we're going to start things off with some Abaddon Black on all the major parts of the armor that aren't detail work. Now, as before, I'm not being overly cautious on some of the areas of the armor, because all the details are going to be done in layer paints, which will cover up any of the black spillover. And next, I'm using Basilicum Gray to hit up all of the stonework at the base of the model, as well as the blades on the end of the bolter and the chainsword. Now later, to help unify the Basilicum base with the sand on the stonework, we're going to go over that section with another layer. And now we use some Gore-Grunta Fur just to hit up the fur on the top of the cloak. And now the cloak itself gets a coating of Flesh Terrors Red. And now that it's just the hard-to-reach parts on the cloak, I used my angled brush to hit all the areas that I couldn't with a normal brush. And there was this little bag on the end of his trophy rack, so I hit that up with Snakebite Leather. And now, all of the skulls and the bone on the model get hit with Skeleton Horde. So now we grab some Lead Belcher and just start picking out some of the details on the model. This is going to be a large portion of the bolter, some bits of the arm on the chain sword, and eventually the trophy rack. Now, as Lead Belcher is a layer paint, you're going to want to be a little bit cautious so that you don't have too much spillover, because trying to paint over this with a contrast later for touch-ups is going to be really difficult, since the contrast will pick up the coloration of the Lead Belcher underneath. So now that that's done, we're going to grab the Agros Dunes and go over the rest of the base of the model. Now, this will help to unify the sand and the stonework. And as you can see, it really almost immediately gives that sandstone look to the rocks on the base. So now I'm just hitting up the teeth of the chainsword with Iron Warriors. And now, a lot of detail work with Auric Armor Gold. And a quick note on the difference between the Lead Belcher and the Iron Warriors. Lead Belcher is kind of a little bit darker in its coloration than the Iron Warriors, and I wanted the teeth of the chainsword to stand out, so because Iron Warriors is a little bit brighter, I went with that, just kind of help give it a little bit of a pop. And just there, I touched over the black of the armor with a little bit of the Auric Armor Gold, and to get rid of it before it dried completely, I just quickly cleaned off my brush, dabbed it in the water, and then used it to kind of brush away the gold. If you do that before the paint dries, it's really, really easy to do. Otherwise, you're going to have to go wait for it to finish drying, and then go back later and touch it up with whatever paint it brushed over. And here we're doing a little bit of touch-up work on the Chaos Eye. This was a little bit harder than I wanted it to be because a lot of the details ended up blending in really too well with the black on the shoulder pad. Made it a little difficult to find where the eye ended and the shoulder pad began. So there was an almost kind of like angry demonic face on his leg here. So instead of doing a full coloration, I ended up doing not quite a dry brush and not quite a full layer of paint, just to kind of help accent all those impressions that the face makes without filling in all of the darker sections that the black already had. And the other leg was simple details, so it didn't take nearly as long. Alright, so here we're grabbing the Hashut copper, and we're going to touch up the bullets on the bolt gun, as well as any of the armor joints that show, and any cables that we can find, as well as the belt buckle. This will help give a nice contrast to a lot of the colors that we've been using, and help accent some of the areas that don't usually get noticed. Alright, so now we're going to use 2 layers of Griff Charger Gray on the lower section of this Tyranid skull. And while that's drying, we can go back to our lead belcher and touch up a few details and get the top of the trophy rack. And like I've said in other videos, it's always okay to go back and do touch-ups later. You don't have to get everything on your first shot through. Alright, so now we're going to use Magnus Purple on the top of the Tyranid skull, and Talazar Blue on the Space Marine helmet. And on the bottom of the skull, we are going to touch it up with Agrax Earthshade, and then the feather on the top of the helmet gets Auric Armor Gold. And then, since we already had it, I went through and touched up the rest of the helmet and a couple of other areas. So now the Chaos Eye gets painted black eye and red iris. And now, the entire bulk of the armor gets a coating in Null Oil Wash. This will help darken all the shadows and just kind of unify any colors, as well as help disguise any areas that were missed on the model. And once that's done, we coat the base with Agrax Earthshade. And now it's done. Alright everyone, so this was the Chaos Black Legion Lord in Terminator armor. I had a lot of fun painting this one. Please like, comment, and subscribe for future content, and be sure and tune in next week. I believe we're probably going to have some more Chaos Marines, or we might go back to our Catacombs build. So, this is CS the Viking Gamer, signing off. Remember, victory or Valhalla.